Well, he is now the new voice when it comes to pit reporting for the World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series. We're here to talk about the man himself, Connor Wade, representing Marion, Illinois. Connor's here to talk about his journey to becoming a part of the World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series from his beginnings to now. That's coming up next on the Getting Up to Speed podcast after these messages. Dave's Home Supply specializes in cabinets, flooring, and countertops. Visit their website at daveshomesupply.com to look at products, services, financing, and even a free estimate. Are you looking for bookkeeping, payroll, or income tax services? Then check out the folks at For You Simple Bookkeeping. They are a licensed tax preparer throughout the entire United States. For more information, click on the link in the description. Well, joining me on the Getting Up to Speed podcast, my next distinguished guest is a native of Marion, Illinois, and he is the new pit reporter for the World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series, and that is Connor Wade. Connor, great to have you in the program, and really looking forward to talking some great sprint car topics that we got on the program tonight.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Ben. Thanks for having me, and I'm always down to talk racing. I love doing it. That's what got me the job I'm starting next year. So, yeah, glad to be on.
Well, I guess we'll go out swinging big, and that is the big announcement not that long ago, the pit reporting job, which was formerly held by Chase Rodman, and now that now you are the occupier of that position, and the World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series 2024 will have a new voice from in the pit area.
Yeah, it all went down really, really quickly whenever Chase took the job with High Limit, which I think he'll do great at, and I wish him the best. Chase is very good at what he does. He's a good friend, known him a long time, and he'll be great for them. But whenever he took that opportunity, it all came together really quickly. I was reached out to by Dirtvision about taking the job, and didn't really have to think about it. Being a lifelong fan of sprint car racing and the World of Outlaws and Energy Drink Sprint Cars being a series that I followed as a fan since I was a really young kid and kept up with and, looked up to the drivers and the personalities of the sport, and somebody that's, dedicated the early years of my life to covering dirt racing. It was a no-brainer for me. So it's really a huge opportunity. It's a huge responsibility. There's a lot going on in the sport right now, as we all know, that we see on social media every day. And there's going to be more eyes on, I think, the World of Outlaws probably than ever before. There's more eyes on the sport right now than ever before. So, and then, of course, the fans that have been watching the Outlaws for years, all of those people combined, deserve to see the Outlaws and deserve for the Outlaws to be covered in the best way possible. So that's a big responsibility, but one that I'm really, really looking forward to taking on.
Well, and most notably, you're not somebody that they just found last resort. You were considered, kind of right off the bat and got an immediate call. Yeah,
for sure. I joined the Dirtvision family in 2023 and worked this entire year for them, covering the Extreme Outlaw Midget Series, the Dirt Car Summer National Tell Tour, and then was in the studio for the World Finals, did some select events for the World Outlaw Late Models and Super Dirt Car Series, got to do Super Dirt Week, and just really, really meshed really well with everybody at Dirtvision right out of the gate. Everybody from, the people in the studio to the field production staff. We all, got along really well, worked great together, became friends that don't just talk on race days. Now we're calling each other throughout the week, just chatting about life and racing in general. So it really, I think, helps starting this position and going on the road for almost 90 races in a season with people that, I've kind of been around on the WRG Dirtvision World of Outlaws side of things, and honestly kind of already have that chemistry with. So, Jackson Steele, the producer for the World of Outlaws Sprint Cars on Dirtvision, he and I have known each other for several years. I think we'll hit the ground running. Got to be around John Gibson a little bit this year and just, talk to him at several racetracks at Outlaw events. And I think we'll hit the ground running on air as well. So that aspect of it definitely makes it, I think will make it easier from the start.
Well, and you mentioned one of the things you covered, the Hell Tour, the UMP Summer Nationals. I mean, if you can survive that, that will definitely get you conditioned for long stint, a lot of races in a short a period of time, especially for like the time comes for like the month of money or so in July/August.
You're spot on, man. The Hell Tour is something else. I don't even know how to describe it. I like you said, if you can get through it, you can get through just about anything. It was a ton of fun to cover. I mean, you literally for a month get to go to a racetrack just about every single day. There's nothing more that a dedicated race fan could ask for. But man, it is grueling. The heat. You're out there on the West Coast. I don't know how hot it gets there during the summer, or up in the Pacific Northwest. But man, here in the Midwest and in Illinois and Indiana and Missouri, June and July, man, it's 100 degrees and it's humid out. It's not a dry heat either. So it's not for the faint of heart for sure.
Well, and historically, I haven't kept up with it recently, but it used to be like they'd go, like for like 3-4 days they'd go west, then they'd go north, then they go south back through places they've already been, then they go east, then they come back. I mean, it's just all over the place as far as the different racetracks you go to.
There is a bit of moving around, but for the most part, they schedule it pretty well. There's a couple, like first weeks in Illinois, then I think we went to, let's say the western part of Illinois and then Missouri for the second week, and then, went back to Illinois, and then we get like through Kentucky and parts of Tennessee, and then up in Indiana, northern Indiana, and Michigan. So it does bounce around for sure, but they do a pretty good job of scheduling out like, okay, we're going to have all the Indiana, Michigan tracks, in 1 week, the Tennessee, Kentucky tracks in 1 week. And, if we have one day where we've got a 3 or 4 hour drive, once a week, we can do that. So they really do a good job of scheduling the Hell Tour.
Well, I guess let's just start with at the beginning, your involvement in racing. What was your first memories and some of your first moments being around the racing industry?
Man, I've been in it and around it since I was born. So my father owned sprint cars, raced sprint cars for a little bit, owned wing and non-wing sprint cars, midgets and silver crown cars. So I was around it from the day I was born. I got to see a lot of great drivers drive for the family team. Grew up around John Stanbro and Thomas Meserol and Chad Baseflute, and Randy Hannigan was with us for a little bit. Got to be around Jeff Dodge quite a bit, Alex Shank, some bigger names, in the Midwest. Mm-hmm. Shane Cochran drove for us for a long time. And then I started getting into announcing in 2015. I was 11 at the time. Southern Illinois Raceway, which is a weekly micro sprint track, was at the time a half a mile from my house. Now it's 5 minutes from my house. They needed an announcer, and I guess for some reason thought it'd be a smart decision to hire an 11-year-old kid to talk on the PA to their fans weekly. So I did that for 5 years, and that kind of catapulted me into the industry. After doing that for so long, started moving into some bigger things, and just so like I said, I've been in it since I was born. I haven't really ever known anything else.
Sure, yeah, it starts to become like it's your normal, right? And when everyone else, you go through school, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, we're going to the lake, we're going camping, or we're going on vacation. Okay, cool, I'm going to race. I don't really know what any of that stuff is.
Yeah, it's exactly how it was. There weren't a lot of, friends' birthday parties or sleepovers or, going and hanging out or stuff like that. I made time for that, the best I could, but the going to the racetrack every weekend was priority number one. And I think even now, the normal for me is being on the road. I worked over 100 races in 2023, and I'm leaving the day after Christmas to go to Tulsa this year. Being on the road is normal. A lot of people, I think the idea of going on the road and being on the road so much is kind of scary to them. Well, to me, when I have, let's say, a week or two off, I'm thinking, oh man, I've got to go home and sit at home and do nothing for a week or two, and that thought is scary to me. Sure. So it's backwards for me. Being on the road and being busy and being out there working in the industry has become my normal. But that's, I love it. Wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, I mean, you hit something spot on the head, and this may have perfect case would have been for the Hell Tour. Like when you do a string of races for 5, 6, I mean, even 10 days, that first day back is really hard because your body's so conditioned of like almost like a biological clock. It's 5 o'clock. You need to start be talking, or like it's 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
You should be walking the pits. Like, and then, like around 10 or 11, your body's like really shaking because it's been having so much adrenaline right about that time. And then when it's not, I don't know. It's like you got the Holy Ghost in you or something.
Man, my sleep schedule was messed up after the Hell Tour, because Hell Tour nights would be, we would get done racing, let's say 11-ish, and then I would stay and help the Dirtvision guys tear down all the equipment. So it was a good day. It was a good night if I got out of the racetrack before midnight. And then you've got a drive, maybe you're driving to the next town, or I usually would try to drive halfway to the next town to have a shorter drive the next day. So you're lucky to be in bed by 1 or 2 a.m. And then you've got another day of work the following day. So I would try to sleep as long as I can. I never really set an alarm unless I had to. So I would try to sleep until 10:30 in the morning every day. And then once Hell Tour ended, that just kind of continued. So it definitely developed some bad sleeping habits for sure.
Well, something that I've learned, and this is a guy, Kyler Shaw with Fast 4, is something he told me a couple of weeks ago. We had a long weekend, we'll just say that, and it was like every minute counts as far as sleep.
You did the Timber 50, right?
Yes, yeah. Yep, he does the Timber 50, which you and Chase did last year. Yeah,
I did. I had I've known Kyler since 2015, so my first year at Southern Illinois Raceway was also, I think, Kyler's first year with Fast 4 Media of doing anything. Maybe he had been doing a little bit out on the West Coast for a year or two, but the first big race he did was the 2015 High Bank Tussle, and that's the first big race I ever announced. So here I was, an 11-year-old kid who had never announced a race that big. Kyler was coming in pretty young, early 20s at the time, had never streamed a race that big. So we worked together on that, and our friendship has grown through the years. So whenever he promoted his first event, the Timber 50 back in 2022, I was honored that he asked me to come and do it and be a part of the broadcast crew for sure. Unfortunately, had some other commitments, wasn't able to make it back this year. But, I think about Kyler a lot as somebody, not only a great friend, but somebody that, if it wasn't for our working relationship the last couple of years and, the races he and I work together and the friendship we have, and there's a lot of people like that, I don't feel like I'd be where I'm at without them. So Kyler's great, and happy that you got to be a part of the Timber 50 this year. I heard it was great. I talked to Rodman. He said that he got COVID or had the flu or something after it, but that's just Oregon in November. But I'm glad you got to be a part of it.
Yeah, no, yeah. We were on the phone. It was after Red Bluff or something. I was driving back and, hey, how you doing? Oh man, Maddie and I got super sick when we got it from our roommate. I'm like, man, I was around all of you guys in a booth,
right.
And you know what those quarters are like, and I'm just like, I don't think I got it. I didn't feel super sick, so I think I dodged like a train-sized bullet on that one.
Yeah, for sure.
But going back to every minute counts, is you wake up and you're like, oh man, I forgot to enter this stat, or I forgot to generate these stats, or look up this research. How much time do I got? And you start factoring things in, and it's like, holy smokes, I got a 20-minute drive. I don't know if I have time to stop and get a coffee or something to eat. I might just have to get something there. I mean, it's a mental grind for sure, because we're not showing up at 6 o'clock at advertised opening ceremonies. That's definitely a given.
Yeah, for sure. I would get to the racetrack. I tried to be there at the latest 2 every day. If hot laps were at 6, if hot laps are, sometimes they're at 5, I'd get there earlier than that. But well, after a week or so of being in a rhythm, it just kind of becomes a normal, and you get into it. So Hell Tour was a lot of fun. I had a great, some great coworkers with Dirtvision that did it with me. The dirt car staff was great to be around. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad I did it. I don't know that I'm sad I'm not doing it again,
Sure.
but I would definitely do it again. It was a lot of fun for sure.
Well, and for events like that, you definitely have to show up early because their guys aren't running. Not a lot of guys, I should say, are running the whole spiel. Like
Right.
they'll do 1 week, or they'll do every other week, or just 1 week, or just a couple races. So for whether a play-by-play guy or a pit reporter, it keeps you on your toes, and you never know who's showing up with some of those deals.
Well, and not just that, but you go to each racetrack you go to has a contingent of local drivers as well. So when you go to Missouri, you've got the Missouri late model guys. When you go to Fairbury, you've got the McKay Wingers and the local Fairbury modified guys like the Michael Ledfords and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really a new field of cars pretty much every day. Of course, there's a decent chunk that ran the whole thing, but like I said, it kind of is a different field. At least half the field is going to be different just about every day. So definitely a lot of preparation that goes into it. With the constant being on the road, my notes and my stats for Health Tour probably weren't as good as some of the other things I covered just because I didn't have the time to dive in. Sometimes if you see them out there for hot laps and you go to myracepass.com or the thirdturn.com just to see what they've been running and try to get a nugget or two on them that you can use it at some point in the night. But, you make it work. It's definitely one of the cool parts of that tour was just the fact that it wasn't the same people every night. For many years before Bobby Pierce went World of Outlaw late model racing, he ran all the Hell Tour and he dominated it. And I remember people saying, man, it was Bobby Pierce every single night. It was Nick Hoffman every single night on the modified side. So it was really cool this year because there were several races you had no idea who was going to win.
And that makes it cool. Just the whole the parity and the ability of so many different drivers to win each and every night.
Yeah, like the last race in Ohio, Wayne County, Ohio, we had two local drivers that run weekly at Wayne County in their divisions that won. One of them won the late model one, and one of them won the modified ones. And they were guys that I don't think had even ever ran the Hell Tour before. If they did, it was maybe at that track a couple of years back. But that was the only Hell Tour race that they ran and they won. So that's definitely a cool part of it. You see that in the sprint car part as well. And I think that'll be a little bit of a challenge for me on the sprint car side of things in 2024. Is I counted them up. There's over 20 racetracks on the Outlaw schedule that I've never even been to before. I haven't honestly even spent a ton of time up in Pennsylvania. I've never been to Williams Grove. Mm-hmm. And while, you hear and see several of those, weekly guys that run at those tracks weekly, such as Williams Grove, through social media and watching Dirtvision, there's still going to be a decent chunk of them that, that I don't know, have never met before. And you can always go online and pull stats on them, but in my opinion, you're never really prepared unless you can go and talk to them face to face and meet them in person. So that's going to be something I think that I'll definitely have to put a lot of effort in going to several of the tracks that I haven't been to before, such as the ones up in the Northeast, even the ones on the West Coast. But definitely a cool part, I think, of just the Outlaw schedule is 90 different races coast to coast. You're going to see so many different talents throughout the year.
Well, and that was going to be one of the questions that I asked. I mean, jumping into the role that you will be with the World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series, there's going to be a lot of places you guys go, and I wasn't sure if there were select areas where you were looking forward to go to.
Oh man, honestly, there's like I said, there's a lot of tracks on the schedule that I haven't been to, and then there's a lot that I haven't been to in a while. We've got a 3-week swing down in Texas. Get to see some new tracks down there. Outlaws are going to Kennedale for the first time. Cotton Bowl for the first time in a couple of years. Big O Speedway in Ennis, and then Lawton, which I was supposed to go to the Outlaw show the last time they were going to run in Lawton, and I was boarding the plane to fly down there, and it rained out or winded out or something like that.
Sure.
The Outlaws are going back to Paducah for the first time since 2012, Paducah, Kentucky. That's 45 minutes from my house. I was there the last time they ran. That'll be really cool. Looking forward to coming out to the West Coast in September. I'm basically going to we'll basically live in California for 3 weeks. And I actually haven't been. I've been to a couple racetracks in California, but I haven't been to any of the ones that the Outlaws are going to. So excited to see Tulare for the first time, Bakersfield, Merced, and then like I said, never been to Williams Grove. So I wish I could have gotten to see it before they tore the bridge down. I think that would have been cool to walk across the bridge. But still excited to see just all the history that place contains and the passionate race fans that go there every week. So honestly, I couldn't tell you, and I don't mean to sound like a company boy whenever I say this, but there's not one weekend on the schedule that I'm not looking forward to. West Memphis, Arkansas, at the end of October. I went there a lot as a kid. I don't know when the last time the Outlaws were there. It'll be cool to go back there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many cool storylines of places that have not had an outlaw race in a while for one reason or the other, and I think it's super cool. I mean, and what's really cool too is you hit on a place, Paducah. Unfortunately, there was a stint where that place wasn't running for some time, and it's great to see that it's up and going again.
It is. So, Paducah was owned a long time by Bob Sargent from Track Enterprises and Kenny Schrader, and they did a great job with it for several years. I think the last time I was there was probably 2012 before it shut down there for a couple of years. And then it recently got purchased probably almost 2 years ago by a younger businessman from the area. And you'll have to forgive me for forgetting his name. Adam Elliott, I believe, is his name. But he purchased it. I'm going to look up on Facebook right now as I'm telling the story to make sure I get his name right, because I'll feel bad if I don't. Yeah, Adam Elliott. So Adam Elliott purchased it. And Adam's a pretty young guy. He's a racer. He's been around racing, has a wife and a daughter, has been pretty successful as an entrepreneur. I think he has some sort of a construction business or something like that. But he bought it and has done a great job with it. Really made some facility upgrades. I mean, that facility was nice to begin with. Lots of suites, beautiful suites, a beautiful press box, a nice, grandstand area, pretty nice spacious concourse area, spacious parking lot, spacious pit area. It was already nice, and they've gone in and made a lot of upgrades, and got to go there for the Hell Tour last year and really enjoyed it. So I was actually excited. The Outlaw schedule came out before I knew I had the job, and I was just really excited to see Paducah on the schedule on April 19th, and obviously that I'll get to cover that race now. I'm really looking forward to it. So happy to see them, and then that'll be my home track on the Outlaw Tour. It's the closest one to home for me on that Friday night, and then the very next night we'll go to my favorite track in the country in Hobstock. So that's a weekend I'm already thinking about in April.
Yeah, the Macho Man got the big win there last year in kind of a stunner, like probably one of the best races with the Outlaws last year.
It was. I got to be there for it. Hobstock just puts on amazing racing no matter what it is. I grew up watching non-wing sprint cars there, and in my opinion, non-wing is probably the best there, but man, wing sprint cars always put on a good show there. You'll see some surprise winners come out of that place. Parker Price Miller's first World of Outlaws sprint car win was also there at Hobstock. And then it was funny, before that race, as I saw Brady starting up front, I don't remember exactly what he started. It was somewhere in the front couple rows. I thought to myself, man, Brady has always been a non-wing guy. He hasn't done a lot of wing racing, but a couple times he's come close to winning an Outlaw race. It was at Hobstock. I can think of probably 2011, 2012, him battling it out with Sammy and Delancey and leading some laps. And I think it was his own Fatheads 99 that he was driving at the time. And came close to a couple races there at Hobstock, and then really didn't focus on wings very much after that. But it was so cool to see him finally break through. I know he and the Heens have put a lot into their programs and midgets and wing sprint cars the last couple of years. So seeing him finally break through for that first Outlaw win at Hobstock, really, really cool. One of my favorite races that I attended in all of 2023.
Well, I have a really cool story about Paducah. So just be forewarned, I'm a huge Civil War fan and everything. Gateway to the Tennessee River and everything. And
right.
And I remember going to the Winter Nationals in Yuma, Arizona, the first time I went. So this would have been winter of 2021. And there's this guy there, and I was told, he was an Elvis impersonator. He was from Paducah, Joey Franklin. Won like a kart championship there. in 1987. And oddly enough, you know, a guy that was racing there was Ken Schrader. And we started talking about Paducah. He's like, oh, yeah, you know. And that was right around the time that this Elliott gentleman was getting the track or was trying to make a deal work and everything. So it was super cool. And it just kind of shows you how small a world we're in. It's big, but it's also very small.
Well, the racing world is very, very small, but that's a really cool story for sure. Kenny Schrader's a great guy. He's been around the sport forever. One of the nicest, most humble guys. Always, you know, he'll talk to anybody. So that's really cool. And Paducah's a great place. Looking forward to getting back there.
Yeah, no doubt. And yeah, no, I mean, you mentioned Tulare. That is definitely a place that I would say is kind of indescribable. Like it's a 3rd mile. It races up against the fence, but it does beyond that. Like you'll be seeing, you know, some tire degradation like on the wall because the curb gets up there. Like and I've never seen that anywhere else. Granted, I haven't been to, you know, 100 racetracks or anything. I'm close to 40, but I mean, it's just a sensational place. And when that place is on, it is on like Donkey Kong for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting there. Obviously, I've watched several Trophy Cup races and some outlaw races at Tulare. I remember watching a race on Dirtvision one time, Tim Keating and I think the Roth 83 whipping everybody there. It's always looked really cool. It's always been a track that has been on my bucket list for sure.
Well, and kind of, you mentioned you got your start in micro sprints and then eventually climb the proverbial ladder. When did things start happening with Dirtvision? When did that attract your attention or their attention, and how did that all come about?
Oh, so like I said, I joined Dirtvision in 2023. Dirtvision actually reached out to me early in 2022 about potentially covering the Extreme Outlaw Sprint Car and Midget Series at the time. I had already committed to a JID for 2022. I covered the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series, enjoyed my year there, but went a different direction in 2023. Towards the end of the year, started talking to Dirtvision. Towards the end of 2022, started talking to Dirtvision again, and you know, they offered me one midget race at DuQuoin last December. That was the first race I did for them. And then from there on out, they're like, okay, you know, we'll give you the Extreme Outlaw Series and the Dirt Car Nationals, the Dirt Car Summer Nationals. And then, you know, continued. They gave me a couple races at Volusia early on in the year. And then, man, they kept giving me work. And we all just worked really well together. They seemed pleased with what I was able to contribute to their broadcast. And I really enjoyed getting to cover the several different things they had me cover in 2023. So it's really been just a great pair between you know, myself and everybody at Dirtvision, and what they do, you know, production wise and broadcast wise. I'm not afraid to say it, and it's not me being biased, but they're far ahead of anybody else in terms of production value to broadcast and you know, the overall experience that they bring to fans for the World of Outlaws that can't make it to the racetrack. And you know, that's something that I take a lot of pride in is production value. You know, there's no reason why watching a World of Outlaws sprint car race on TV can't feel like you're watching a NFL or an NBA or even a NASCAR production, right? Like production value and stuff like that is stuff that really, really excites me. And that's very important to Dirtvision. It means a lot to them. And I think we share a lot of the same visions and ideas and goals in that aspect of it. So, and obviously Dirtvision put so much into their productions the last couple of years, you know, with the studio, and they've got the desk, and they can go back and forth between the studio and the track. You know, they've got the big screen at the track, and, you know, tons of different camera angles and, you know, replays and stuff like that. So, it's honestly, it's been a thrill working for them the last year or so. And, it feels like it's been a lot longer than a year just because I think I covered so much for them and had so much fun in 2023. But, you know, we're going to continue. I think Dirtvision streams are going to continue to get better. I think Dirtvision is going to continue to get bigger. And, you know, the future is really, really bright, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Well, and I've said this with a lot of people. It's a great time to be a race fan, specifically a sprint car fan, because boundaries are being pushed specifically in the streaming deal where I think even 10 years ago, some of the things that are happening now was completely far-fetched, like fantasy.
Yeah.
The FVP drones, or just a drone itself that can get an overhead, what traditionally would be you had to have a helicopter or a Goodyear blimp for. And the way the graphics are, you've got the F1 ticker sometimes for some broadcasts, and just what they're able to do. And, something that Dirtvision does that's really cool is they're able to give you live point standings while the race is going on, and things like that. And it's just super cool. And, it really pushes everybody to do better. And I think that, the collective push for everybody to try to do better is going to bring this to more viewers and to I think turn them into lifelong fans. At least that's the ultimate goal. And I really think that's achievable.
Yeah, I think so too. And I agree with everything you said there. And you think back, to streams, not just Dirtvision, but any streaming service that was out there streaming dirt races between 10 and 15 years ago, probably closer to 10 years ago. It was one camera, maybe a dump shot, a POV on the front stretch that you can dump to.
Yeah.
You're pulling audio from the track's audio board that you hope is solid enough.
Yeah.
You hope it's not some audio board from the 1950s. And you hope you can run the audio through your camera and make it sound good. And then, probably a couple years after that, you actually bring your producer in, but still they're probably not out of the trailer. They're probably sitting there on a desk somewhere with a computer, maybe cutting the couple camera angles that they have. That was then. Now it's, we're bringing in our own equipment, setting up days before a race. We've got, at least one trailer on site, maybe a couple. We're communicating with people in a studio, in a control room. We have a producer at the track. We also have a producer in the studio in Concord. It's crazy to see how far the productions and the broadcasts themselves have come the last decade, give or take. And even the last 5 years, watch a World of Outlaw sprint car broadcast from 5 years ago compared to now. It was great 5 years ago. Don't get me wrong, but
Sure.
now it looks really, really good. And hey, imagine in 5 more years what it could look like.
Well, I remember when radio was a big thing. Racing boys would come through with ASCS, or Dirtvision was predominantly audio only. And a lot of the times, some of those deals was like, you hope to God that the house wireless mic would work, because I'm sure you can recall the days of just sweating bullets of like, a singer coming to do the national anthem trackside, and your boss is saying, this is going to work, right? You tested it, and it's like, it worked when nobody was here. Yes.
Yeah. For sure. No, it's, Dirtvision's worked really hard. And then, the other streaming services have come a long way too, in making broadcasts better and higher quality, just in terms of audio and video. I think picture quality is something that I always looked for. I know, it's all pretty much good now. Back in the day, there were some when you were like, the picture quality in this isn't great, but, they started investing more money into better cameras and stuff like that. So pretty much across the board, all the streaming services have pretty good picture quality now. It's not something you really think about as a top priority these days. You just kind of take it for granted. But I know at one time that was something that was a big deal. They've really revolutionized it a lot. And, I tell people every day, one thing that networks don't have, or, sometimes they're on time constraints. We're not necessarily on a time constraint. So like at MAP TV, whenever we would go live to the linear network, sometimes we would, let's say, come on air at 9 p.m. Well, we have to be off by 10. And if the winner takes the checkered flag at 9:57, it's going to be about 9:58, 9:59 before he actually gets to victory lane. That's when he's got one question, and then you're off air, and you only get one question, maybe 20 seconds of a winner interview. So I think a lot of networks, have the whole time thing they have to worry about, Daytona 500 rain delay. Well, guess what? If it gets to 9 o'clock, there's, family die or something that's got to go on. So you've got to, cut that off. And, you've got other stuff that you've got to fight. And sometimes I think networks don't even try to make you feel like you're at the event. And I think streaming services, we don't have to worry about the timing or the scheduling conflicts, but we can get the good parts of a network broadcast and make it look similar to that as we can, but we can also give people that are watching the feeling that they're there, and that we want them to feel like they're at the event. That's why we still have the same it's the same call going to both the broadcast and the house. We don't split them up.
Yeah.
So the streaming services in general, and especially Dirtvision, have come really, really far, like I said, and it's gonna continue to get better. I'm excited to hopefully continue to bring production value to these shows.
Yeah, no doubt. And and like what was really cool, I mean, it was unfortunate set of circumstances, but it was one of the races at the Dirt Car Nationals in February where weather was playing havoc, literally raining havoc, and you guys were, when I say you guys, Dirtvision was able to pull, I think Brian Brown was a guest and a couple other guys just into basically a trailer and do a little bit Q&A with Dave Reef in studio, which historically it would have just been, like a still shot with the, the camera locked down on a setting, looking at the lights or, at a fixed position.
Yeah, no, 100%. We, World Finals, whenever I was hosting studio coverage, there was I think about a 30 or 40 minute track prep break before the final feature, and they announced that. And as soon as we found out about it, we immediately started coming up with a plan of how to fill that 30 or 45 minutes, whatever it was going to be for air. And about 5 minutes into it, one of our bosses came in and said, "Hey, we're 5 minutes into this track prep break. We've already lost 1,500 viewers." So we immediately after that scrambled and finished putting the plan together. And I went on air and just talked about the upcoming late model feature for about 25 minutes, and we threw in a commercial break to draw it out a little bit.
Sure.
But
filibuster.
So we just filled time, and we got those viewers back as we started covering more. I went through the entire starting lineup. We showed points going into the feature, scenarios for if it was the last race of the year, there was still a battle for fourth. This guy needs to finish this to hang on to the fourth spot in points, and this guy needs to get this, and blah 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 blah. Oh, we've got a little bit more time. Well, let's show let's show the difference in the points fund. Let's show what they're actually battling for. So that's really definitely a cool element of it, and it helps having that studio back in Concord. And then I remember one time during Dirt Car Nationals, I think a different night, whenever it was late models and bid block modifieds, there was a rain delay. Hannah Newhouse and I and a camera guy down on a four-wheeler, we went back and I think we each recorded about 5 interviews with drivers from the respective series we were covering, and we fed them back to the studio. Dave Reef sat there and then threw the interviews. And we did the same during Super Dirt Week. And there were, we had a ton of rain at Super Dirt Week this year, and we still were on air for much of that rain delay, covering it. So it's really, really cool to have that ability.
Well, and I would definitely say that goes to paying attention and definitely doing the best you can at keeping notes, especially with that in-studio throw to you during World Finals, because if you hadn't been doing the research or knowing what was going on, holy smokes, it would have been a deer in the headlights moment of, I don't know what else we got to talk about, but we're taking fan mail. So.
Yeah, it takes a lot of effort for sure. I think I've always said to do the job, you've got to do it right. You've got to put in the effort. You've got to put in the time. I know I spent a ton of time in late November, early December, working on notes for the Tulsa Shootout and the Chili Bowl. I'm kind of behind this year on my shootout notes just because I've had so much other stuff going on. Really haven't had an off season, but you think about the shootout. There's over 1,500 entries now. A lot of those guys run 3 or 4 classes, so there's probably somewhere between 500 and 1,000 different drivers there. But that's a lot of guys you got to do notes on and remember information and stuff like that. So that's definitely one of the major aspects of doing the job that I do is preparing for it. But it's also a part that I really enjoy. It's one of the more fun parts for me. I'm somebody that, loves the history of the sport and cares about it and the present as well. So, if there's going to be a guy, if I see a driver's name on an entry list that maybe I've heard of but not too particularly familiar with, or, his background, then, I can type his name into Facebook or go to the Third Turn or My Race Pass or something like that and find what the guy's done in his entire career. He started running some 305 series, or maybe he started a micro sprints, whatever the case may be. You get to learn about the sport that way too. So the preparation that goes into it is definitely incredibly crucial to doing the job well. I've always said that, and I'll always stand by that.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree with you. It's unfortunate, like we probably prep more than we actually are on a broadcast. However,
I over prepare all the time, and if I'm not over prepared, I'm nervous going into it.
Exactly. I feel underprepared.
I'm lucky if I use 20% of what I, if I make a note document, I'm lucky if I use 20% of it. But you have the peace of mind going into it that if you have it, you need it. So
it can bail you out of a jam.
If you need it, you have it. It helps.
Yeah, I mean, like, you don't know if like, something happens where, unfortunately, like, maybe the EMTs need to check somebody out, or there's weather, or a very extended track rework. You just never know. But, yeah, you have that peace of mind of, well, we could talk about this because I already went ahead and did the work. I don't have to go and crunch numbers. And yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more.
Well, it's been great to get to know you, Connor, and I'm really excited to see what the season's going to hold for you. No doubt it'll be a challenge, but it sounds like you're a guy that's always up for challenges. Any folks that you want to thank in particular to make stepping into this role, or have helped you pave the way to get in the position that you are, that you like to give shout-outs to?
Oh, my goodness. There's so many. I've done a couple interviews before where I've been asked this exact same question, been asked to do it. I always forget somebody.
Sure.
So I'm not going to actually name any names so I don't forget anybody. Mm-hmm. But the people out there that have helped me along the way, family members, producers, camera operators, other announcers, other pit reporters and on-air talents, executives for streaming services and networks I've worked for. They know who they are. Tons of people. Without all of them, I wouldn't be anywhere. And it's not just, getting opportunities, but it's, the help along the way and the going up and down the road and, having, people that do the same job as you that you can go to and say, hey, did you watch that interview I did? Did I suck? What should I do better? Should I ask a better question? Was I too fast, too slow, too drawn out? Did I, have too much information, whatever, people that you can feed off of and ask questions to. And, that really helps a lot. And I have several friends that are like that, within this industry. And, like I said, a lot of people I've worked with over the years, come in close contact with, and have, really helped me along the way. So they know who they are.
Well, again, it's been an ultimate pleasure, and I can't wait to see how things unfold, and hopefully we'll be bumping into you a few times this year on the West Coast, or even at Knoxville this summer.
Sounds great, Ben. Thanks so much for having me on. Merry Christmas, and hope you enjoy the 2024 World of Outlaw Knoxville Drink Sprint Car season.
This episode is a production of Highside Racing Promotions. Be sure to like the YouTube as well as Facebook page and like these videos. The more likes and the more attention it gets, and we would like to get as much information out to the racing community. Whenever or wherever you're watching these episodes, we hope that you enjoyed them